Hey, Daily Dosers, coming at you from First Peter Day, First Peter chapter 1, beginning at verse 3. Yesterday, Chris was talking about the introduction to this book, probably written to a group of people who are spread out, a group of Christians who are undergoing persecution under Diocletian, underneath Nero, and who are really feeling the heaviness in their heart. So this is an encouraging book written to them, and Peter writes, through his interpreter, if you will, Silas, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth in a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ." A lot of times when we read through passages like this or introductions, there's these phrases that we just kind of skip over. But think of how important this would have been for Peter, who saw the resurrected Christ himself. He's going to talk about it all the time. He's going to reference it all. He watched a guy get crucified and then breathe again. There's after that, there's almost nothing else to talk about. And then through that perspective, he's got the boldness to say this: the direction of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you, who through faith are shielded by God's power until the coming of the salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. When you were a kid, did your parents ever give you maybe an allowance? Mine didn't, but I've heard stories where you get an allowance and then you have different maybe piggy banks or little buckets to put them in. You put a little bit in this jar, a little bit in this jar, a little bit in this jar, and you have to try to take what they give you. And they're trying to teach you the idea of budgeting your money and budgeting your things. I think this is a little bit what Peter's doing. We've been allotted a certain amount of time in our life, a certain amount of energy, even a certain amount of wealth. And his encouragement is this: are you putting your time, talent, treasures, when you're dividing those up throughout the day, is it a proper reflection of where your heart actually is? Where you spend your hours, where you spend your energies, is that a proper reflection? At the end of the day, at the end of a week, or the end of a month, if someone took your monthly report of energy, would we be proud of where our time was spent, of where our money was? Is it indicative of what's true to our heart? And Peter's call right here, after seeing the resurrected Jesus, he uses phrases like, don't put your investment in things of this world that are going to perish or spoil or fade, which is a direct call back to Matthew chapter 7 and the beginning of the book of Matthew, when Jesus says, don't store up treasures here on earth where moth and rust destroy. Put them somewhere that's eternal. Make a better investment, is what Peter's saying. And now, someone who's under persecution, this is even more poignant to be saying these things. He's saying, guys, we might be in our last days. Imagine if you were in your last days. Imagine maybe you've seen a documentary, or maybe, God forbid, you've had this happen in your own family, where someone's counting the clock and they're given 2 weeks to live, 3 weeks to live. There's just nothing about their day that's accidental. Maybe you've moved from one location to the next, and then all of a sudden you start having your lasts. Oh, my last time at that donut shop. Oh, my last time going to church this Sunday, my last time. And you're so much more intentional about what you do. I think what Peter is saying is we shouldn't presume on borrowed time. This could be our last day. And in their situation with trials, a lot of them were facing their last day in and day out. But what if we lived in that? Now, you don't have to change everything you do and quit your job. But for the time that you have been given, we look at our monthly report of, where am I spending my energy? Is it with my family? Is there going to be people? Am I investing in spiritual things that will last forever? Or is everything about the here and now, where moths destroy and rust gives way? And this man, undergoing the greatest persecution, having seen the resurrected Jesus, is there anyone to give us better perspective on what ought to be important for us and where we ought to be putting our pennies in those different piggy banks? So today, what has God given you to steward? Is it being put in something that's eternal? And how much of our day can we focus, even though it might be a trial? May we not presume on borrowed time, or think, well, I'm invincible. Well, that's not me. Because we never know the will of God and the heart of God, or what might be coming next. So may we live every day with the assurance and the confidence that we stewarded the time, talents, energy, and even monies that God gave us in this place. We'll see you guys tomorrow.